most businesses fail within their first few years. Those statistics change here and there, but the point is that most of them don't last past a few years of operations. Many of them never become profitable. That's the crazy thing. And if you look at it from that lens, traders, oftentimes they don't make it past their first 30 days. I mean, that's the average turnaround. Somebody who wants to go try it by themselves, learn how to trade, is a 30-day turnaround. They try it out. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have a system or a plan. They fail. They're like, okay, I'm done. The ones who have a bigger vision, the more entrepreneurially minded traders, maybe they'll go into a few more months or a few years. Gosh, I talked to a lady 2 or 3 years ago who'd been practicing for 20 years and never really got it down. And so cool part, and the reason why you're probably listening to this podcast, is that we actually put together a platform of which people can stand on and have that plan. They can have that vision. It's more like a box of Legos. We have the instructions and you have all the pieces. You've got to put it together yourself though, right? And so when you have all of that brought together, it's a heck of a lot easier, sustainable trading system when you have all the pieces and the instructions to put it together.
So what are the secrets? How do some of the most successful entrepreneurs find the freedom that we all got into business for in the first place? How did they find the time, energy, and resources to launch and scale strong? And how do entrepreneurs like us align our time, money, and energy in a way that will allow us to reach what we set out to achieve? These are the key questions, and this community will give you the answers. Welcome to the Prosperity Movement.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Prosperity U podcast. This is where we like to gather together and the leaders of the Prosperity Movement and kind of discuss some things that we've noticed or things that we're learning or things that we feel would be of value to you guys listening. And so lately we've actually been kind of going over, what we've noticed with our traders, and some of the things, habits, behaviors, and things that we're noticing, as well as the conversations with people we've had who are interested, who aren't members just yet, and some of the patterns there. And ultimately what we've determined is, James says this a lot, James Leone, he always talks about how your trading should be your business. Like, treat it like a business, not like a hobby. So we've kind of been diving deeper and deeper into that. Travis specifically has been diving crazy deep into it. And so we kind of have some cool comparisons, trading versus a business, and ways to kind of, like if we give it a new perspective, when you're looking at your own trading journey and kind of how to look at it in a more effective way. So, Travis, what are because I know you said earlier today, you were saying something like, instead of calling yourself a trader, you can call yourself an entrepreneur. Do you want to kind of go into that a little bit?
Sure. So, first things first, most people are not getting into trading or entrepreneurship specifically because they're passionate about it, right? In fact, I would say at least if we look at entrepreneurship first, I think most people are interested with the idea of being a business owner of some sort or starting something based off of what it could potentially do for them. Not so much because like I hear a lawnmower going on right now, like starting a landscaping company. I don't think that most people who own a landscaping company are just like, I love cutting lawns, right? I love it. Now you can enjoy it. I particularly enjoy doing lawn work and such. And, but I don't think that you start your business around that because of that one little piece that you do enjoy about it. In fact, once you dive into it, then you realize, oh my gosh, there's so many headaches that can come with this. And the equipment's expensive, finding the customers and keeping them, being competitively priced, all of the overhead and such, it becomes a lot more convoluted than people initially think or are willing to kind of put up with, right? And so many thoughts going through my head right now. I'm trying to concise this down. Getting started in entrepreneurship is usually for somebody not a passion, but a choice to get the outcome that they want. More money, more time, or maybe more control over their schedule. There's lots of other perks as well, but the point is they're like, I want something that I can do But at least when I first got started thinking of doing that, to me, I was like, how do I start a company like Apple or Microsoft? Like, I have no idea all of those things. And that's really, really big companies that I first started looking at. So I started looking at smaller ones. Like, what about starting a franchise like McDonald's or Subway? And that comes with its pros and cons. And so you start looking smaller and smaller. I was like, what if I just, and I used to build furniture, but I have my, I have the crib in shambles right now. We're getting it ready. We have a baby on the way, if anybody doesn't know yet. Yay. And so my office is being temporarily converted into a baby room as well until we have other things sorted. But anyways, ultimately looking at the bigger things and then getting them smaller and smaller and smaller, people look at entrepreneurship the same way. It's like, okay, I can start with something really small, but then the question is what? And maybe something like landscaping seems like a really small business, but there's so many ins and outs of it, and it becomes overwhelming. And so, again, kind of going back to my experience when we first getting started, one of the things that a lot of coaches and businesses do at first is to try and help you find that little niche or that little thing that you want to do. And for some people, that could be trading, right? To learn how to trade. Or if you're good enough at trading and you want to businessize it, then you can learn how to coach other people through doing that, right? I'm kind of in rambles right now. None of this was prepared. So I'm going all over the place trying to bring it home. Getting started typically in entrepreneurship is around the things that can come from it. Same thing with trading. People don't look at the charts and say, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing since sliced bread. And I want to be a trader because I'm really passionate about it. But finding your feet and finding your niche can become a passion. You can really enjoy it. Kind of like you, me, and Brian and James and the whole team. We've actually found that not only is it another stream of income for us to build out businesses like this, but it's also really enjoyable and really fulfilling and such, right? But you
Yeah.
can't get to that point unless it's also producing the fruit of what you want it to produce, right? So I guess that's probably the best way to start it out is if people are getting started with trading or getting started with an entrepreneurship, they're looking for the fruit that it can produce, right? And so in so many ways, trading is just like, and we, if you watch our podcast, you'll hear me say it's just like going to the gym. Well, guess what else is just like going to the gym? Going into business. Now, granted, there's not as many convolutions when it comes to trading because you're not so much worried about the competition of being competitively priced for your product or service you provide. You're not so much worried about the overhead and logistics of being able to get a brick and mortar facility or all the logistics of shipping if you have a physical product and such. There's a lot fewer moving parts with trading, but that doesn't mean that you should treat it any less important and with a systematized approach as you would with entrepreneurship. Most businesses fail within their first few years. Those statistics change here and there, but the point is that most of them don't last past a few years of operations. Many of them never become profitable. That's the crazy thing. And if you look at it from that lens, traders oftentimes they don't make it past their first 30 days. I mean, that's the average turnaround of somebody who wants to go try it by themselves to learn how to trade is a 30-day turnaround. They try it out. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have a system or a plan. They fail and they're like, okay, I'm done. Right. The ones who have a bigger vision, the more entrepreneurially minded traders, maybe they'll go into a few more months or a few years. Gosh, I talked to a lady 2 or 3 years ago who'd been practicing for 20 years and never really got it down. And so those are all scary stats. But the cool part, and the reason why you're probably listening to this podcast, is that we actually have put together a platform of which people can stand on and have that plan. They can have the vision. They can have the ins and outs. Basically, I wouldn't say put together for you. It's more like a box of Legos. We have the instructions and you have all the pieces. You've got to put it together yourself, though, right? And so when you have all of that brought together, it's a heck of a lot easier to build a really cool race car out of Legos, or in this case, build a sustainable trading system when you have all the pieces and the instructions to put it together. So my goodness, I'm going to go back and listen to this and see how many different routes I was trying to take and then and make fun of myself for Joe Biden ending it. How do you say that? A present progressive verb. I was doing Joe Biden. Well, this back in the day, blah blah blah. My hairy legs. So
No,
yeah,
it makes sense though. It does. So because it's because you're right. I mean, there's you don't get into trading because you're like, oh my gosh, the charts are so beautiful, and I can't wait to look at this for hours on end. No, you get in because you are attracted to the result in the kind of the it's the 4th of July today. Happy 4th, everybody. But
oh
the
yeah, yeah.
the independence, right, that trading can provide to you and your family. I mean, we're talking like working a couple hours a day trading, right? Um, if that. I mean, I have for myself, I trade every morning and I have it blocked off for an hour and a half, but it typically takes me anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes, to get what I'm looking to get in the market. And then I get out and then I'm, a happy camper for the rest of the day. And so that kind of level of freedom, that's what people are interested in when they get into trading. What they don't understand though is it's not the way that people advertise trading out there right now in the industry in general. It's very gimmicky. It's very get rich quick. Hey, we have this algorithm that predicts the market, and you pay 50 grand, you get the algorithm or whatever the thing is, right? So it's so much like it's positioned in a way where you're able to get in without much effort. And that's just not true. There is definite effort. Now, I think trading is very simple. And once you get it, right? Because we're talking about comparing it to a business plan, there's a trading plan. In business, you have to measure all your numbers, where your traffic's coming from, your return on ad spend, return on investment stuff, all that. You have to track all that. Guess what? In trading, you got to track that stuff too. So you can find little pitfalls and little holes and the things that you got to, improve on throughout. And so it is very simple once it clicks. But there's a bit of effort that goes into that at the beginning to get that. And the best thing is you don't have to put in that effort by yourself, right? You've got help from people who have done that already, and from some people that have done it for a very long time and successfully, right? And they can give you advice and they can help you put those Lego pieces together. So it's not just the instruction manual and the Lego blocks themselves, but you also have a dude that built it sitting there watching you build it and saying, "Hey, hey, hey, wrong one. You got to do the orange one, not the green one or whatever." So it's really, I love the comparison, business and trading. I think that's very, very valid.
Well, yeah, the people get started with much of the same ambitions in mind, the fruits that it can bear from going into business instead of working for someone else's business. You can go into trading instead of, again, kind of the same concept. Instead of doing something else, you can do this, and it is a feasible thing to do. But if we're looking at the average population of most people, they're not jumping into business and have all the funding and all of the things figured out, their own marketing team and sales teams and the whole 9 yards. They're going in by themselves, wearing all of the hats. You're basically doing the same thing with trading. There's just not as many hats to wear, and so you could be a lot more focused. The trend, though, that I see most often with people who are going in to be a first-time entrepreneur, or they maybe tried a few other things and it didn't work out and they're trying again, is that often you're still working your regular job. You still have your other things that you have responsibilities for, and then the side hustle becomes more of a hobby. And I'll tell you right now, people don't get paid off of hobbies unless you're an artist that throws paint on a wall and it becomes art, like the new stuff these days. That's as close as it gets to just being a hobby that pays for itself. And even the IRS looks at hobbies in a different light. That if you have XYZ parameters, usually it's just about the income. Anything less than $600, I believe, is what they talk about, right? Is considered a hobby. Anything more than that is considered a potential full-time income or something like that, right? And so when people are getting into starting their business, it's really important not to intentionally treat it like more than just a hobby. Same thing with trading. You shouldn't get in there and say, "Oh, a couple times a month I'll try it out and figure it out, you know. Treat it like a little thing that I'm trying to learn. It's not like you're getting on Duolingo and casually learning Spanish. You should go in with the intent on doing it in a systematized approach. I think that where most people have a hard time, though, is that without the experience and with such a slew of information on the internet, with everyone saying different things, and like you said, all the gimmicks that come with it, it's hard to piecemeal through all of that and actually put together something that really just makes sense. And it does not have to be overly complicated. Uh, Starting a business does not have to be overly complicated either. When you go through, it should be as simplified as possible and focusing on tasks at hand. That's why it's so important to find your niche, which is the very small part of the market to get your foot in the door. That's why it's really important in trading to find a system or your own set of rules that we, of course, we show people how to do this, but go through and have your rules based on your parameters, right? Do you work a standard 9 to 5 and you can't jump in at certain times? Okay, we'll work around that. Do you have a certain risk tolerance that you're willing to take on, but maybe someone else has a higher tolerance, right? So we're gonna have to work around that. How do you manage your trade? How much time do you have? How many days per week? What time of the day per week? What instruments? There's over 10,000 different instruments you could choose from. How do you choose the right ones, right? Once you have all that information outlined, which again it's not a infinite list. There's only a handful of things that you need to really focus on, just like in starting a business. And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So then the question arises, if that's the case, and it can be simple, then what are the biggest hiccups and hangups, do you think, Zach, that prevent people from taking the entrepreneurship side of things seriously, and that we can also equivocate towards taking trading seriously as well? Like, what are those hangups?
Well, I think probably one of the bigger ones, and this is true for a lot of newer traders, is because they do kind of treat it like a side hustle or a hobby. They don't um, they don't put their full focus on it. I always tell our members, I tell them, like, if you really want to master a skill set, any skill set. Right now we're talking about trading, but this goes for any skill set. The best way for you to do it is you have to kind of slightly obsess over it, right? So when I was learning trading, I was dreaming about charts. Like, that's how much focus I was putting. I was dreaming about candles moving up and down. And like, I've even had some ideas. I wake up and, oh my gosh, would that work? And then I go and look at the chart, so maybe not that obsessed. Okay. But they're
Well, it
just,
reminds me of like the musicians that I know, and they're not just like some mom or pop go down the street and on the coffee shop once or twice a month. The full-fledged in the tour vans going across the country kind of thing. And I've housed quite a few of them over the years at our old place that had a music studio in it. And I remember one of the guys was sleeping on the couch, and I think that some of us were like just chilling, watching TV or something. He wakes up, he's like, I need pen and paper right now. We're like, what? So we gave it to him, and he was dreaming about a song, and he was trying to write down the lyrics and remember the melody. So he was singing the entire time too. And it was like this illegible melody. It was weird. He was dreaming about the new songs that he was writing.
yeah,
And he very, very much so took his career as a musician, which is mostly just creative stuff, right? But even that needs to be taken seriously as well. And so he'll have this, like you're saying, this dreams that he's like, okay, I need to remember this because it sounded really great. Uh,
yeah,
just so you know, afterwards he was saying like, "Oh no, it was garbage." What I remembered, like it wasn't very good.
didn't
But
work.
to become obsessed with something is not in an unhealthy fashion, but it's in a realm of taking it really seriously. Like imagine when you were first starting out in a new job, you're probably at some degree obsessed with the idea of trying to figure it out to do a good job, right? And same thing, like if you have a kid on the way, when you're a first time parent, you kind of obsess about, well, what are the right things to do? What are the wrong things to do? How do I parent and stuff, right? Anytime you start something new that you care about and
Yeah,
you want to see the fruits to become fruit, the whatever you're planting to become fruitful, then there's a certain level of which you need to take it to an extreme intentionality, right? And so
Yeah.
Grant Cardone is one person I can think of who talks about being obsessed with something. And it's not in an unhealthy, addictive type of way, but something
Right.
that you can compartmentalize and say, okay, now it's time to focus. Now it's time to go into my flow state and give intentional, thoughtful interaction with this thing that's going on. And in many cases, like you and the guy I'm talking about, and myself in many ways too, when you have that level of obsession, there's probably also a healthy level of like passion for it as well, or let's say conviction, or I mean, really, when you become the obsessed that we're talking about, it's because you intentionally do things consistently and it becomes a part of your habitual behaviors and thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So,
And it becomes enjoyable. To the point where like today being the 4th of July, no one's trading today. The market's not really open today, so at least not for a lot of the stuff we trade. And so I was kind of disappointed. Like, oh, I don't get to trade today. I was looking forward to it. And that's where you get to, because you especially because when you focus on it so much, you start to actually succeed. And then when you start to succeed with it, you kind of put more focus on it, because now you're like, you finally get to catch a glimpse of it. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym it's hard for 60 days. And then at the end of the 60 days, you stand on the scale and you look in the mirror and you're like, hey, hey, I'm noticing something. Hey, I'm okay. I'm back. I'm going to the gym every day. I'm not going to fail. And so it's
yeah,
kind of
the
like that. You
results
start to
breed
see it.
the inspiration and motivation and stuff that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
You, me, Brian, we talk oftentimes that motivation is not something that you should lean on.
Right.
That is the crumbling ground of sand beneath your foundations. But when
Yeah.
you set the right foundations, then from there, building up and seeing the growth of what you're doing will give you the extra doses of inspiration and motivation to continue to go. I mean, it's pretty simple. Like if you go and your goal is number one, I want to lose my belly fat like I have right now, right? And then I'm going to go to the gym, and then after a solid year of going and I don't see any results, that's really really hard to want to keep going. Then you break it down. What about 6 months? What about 2 months? What about 3 days? Some people get really unmotivated after so long. So it's
Mhm.
not so much that you should. I guess what I'm saying is that when you start to see the results, especially when you do it in obsessive kind of way, you're not going to go to the gym for that long and not see some results, right? Same thing with trading. You're not going to be trading if you treat it intentionally with conviction. It's more than a hobby. You're going to see something happening, and that will then fuel the fire to keep going, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth ad infinitum. Um, and I think that where people get really mixed up with it is that they want the quicker result, which typically doesn't have a lasting result. It's like the
Yeah.
guys who, and this is all pretty well documented, those who go on these fad diets. We're talking about losing weight, going to the gym, right? They go on these fad diets, or they just starve themselves or something, and they lose a lot of weight. And then it's fairly predictable when they start to gain more as well. Like there is a cycle, and then they do this. And that's what traders do as well: up, down, up, down, up, down, instead of doing things from a more approachable, sustainable, and I mean, really effective. They want efficiency over effectiveness,
Right.
and that's what we're all here to try and say. No, don't do the efficient way. It sounds so horrible to say that. Like I'm saying it. Do it effectively, and with the effectiveness, efficiency will come,
Yes.
right? But if you try and do it efficiently first, the effectiveness usually doesn't,
100%.
right? So they both are important, but where do you start? And that's the same thing when you start in business. You're not trying to be the most efficient or the cheapest option or whatever. You're trying to be the most effective, the highest quality, right? And then from there, as you grow, you can produce those efficiency systems. You can hone in, you can develop your parts of your business, or in this case, trading. You can develop the parts that become more efficient. Like Zach, you didn't start trading 20 minutes at a time. If I recall, you started trading and you were doing balls to the wall, like this whole 5 hour sessions kind of stuff. I know some people who are full-time traders that trade like 12 hours a day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have over time developed your efficiencies from first being effective.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, even this year, switching to a new style of trading for me, but the first couple months I was spending a good amount of time studying and watching the charts and looking back at the history of the charts and being on with every James session I could find and everything. I was learning and digging really, really deep. And now it's like I said, I have it planned for an hour and a half a day, but it ends up being like typically 40 minutes. I think is typically how long my sessions are.
And you're just giving yourself some leeway, some room to be able to have that you weren't expecting in your trading, to
Exactly.
have a little bit of extra breathing room so you don't have to panic and try and finish it too fast, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So, I mean, if you really were to look at it from your averages and such, you probably could just go ahead and do an hour per day in your schedule. But
Yep.
it's for you, it's a little bit, and probably for most people, to have that extra breathing room is a good place to be. High
It's
five if you get done in 20 minutes, but
yeah.
thank goodness you had 90 if you needed, 70.
A prime example actually was yesterday. Now yesterday, um, Wednesdays are a little bit weird for me because some of our members they do work during like the New York Open time, which is my favorite time to trade. And so I get on with a couple of them early on Wednesday, but like at 6:45 my time, and then that's Central Time, and then we trade until basically just before 8 o'clock my time. And yesterday, because it was July 3rd, okay, there wasn't a ton of movement. I was able to hit my goal of 10 pips an hour in that time frame. Hooray, that was great. And then I had another session with some members right after that. Okay, so my Wednesday, I do two back-to-back sessions with our members. And that second session, the open came, which is usually where I get most of my pips. Okay. And when the open came, though, it didn't actually give me the signal in the way that I usually expect and want. And so I sat out. So if I didn't have that first session yesterday morning, and I had that kind of an open in later in the morning, I probably would have stayed on a little bit after that hour because I missed out on that open, even though there was a good 30 pip move in there. I missed it because my entry rules state that I should not have entered, and so I did not. Okay, so I would have probably needed that extra buffer to make up for those 10 pips. In this case, I didn't have to because I did earlier in the morning, right? But that's kind of what I look for with that.
Well,
But yeah,
just for clarity for people listening right now, when he's saying that he missed the pips, that wasn't like a fear of missing out or a missed opportunity. That was what he deliberately and intentionally decided not to do because it didn't meet his specific criteria of the trading plan that he has. And it's
hmm
that kind of resilience and accountability that keeps him consistently profitable. Is that just because there's the presumed appearance of an opportunity, if it doesn't match up with what your plan is, you've got to avoid the squirrels, right? We call them prosperity squirrels when it comes to the business side of things. It's like if there's all these shiny objects out there to how to make the business better, right? But we got to focus on task at hand. Same thing with trading is don't get distracted on all the potential opportunities. It's the market, guys. There's going to be another opportunity all the time. So follow the
100%.
plans that you have, and that consistency and that accountability is what produces the fruit that people want. And 10 pips, if you don't know what a pip is, just think of it this way: it's the movement of the market. For every pip you make, you also have a certain amount of money attached to that as well. And so, where we're talking about efficiency and effectiveness, being effective and efficient, many traders would say, "Oh, it's just 10 pips. I could have got 300 or so." It's like, no, you're just you're missing the point. Okay, if you can consistently get 10 pips, that is more than a full-time income for sure once you make it efficient. Okay, so if you're trading 10 cents per pip, no, of course that's not going to change your life.
Right.
But when you can do it over and over and over again, then you can realize, oh, it is now a risk mitigated way for me to go through and put possibly more money on the market, right? And so if you most brokers are going to cap you around $100 per pip. Okay. And so if you do the math, 10 pips, $100, that's, $1,000 potential in a less than an hour for most of the time, right? That's
Yeah.
very efficient, but you can only get to that kind of risk mitigation and risk tolerance once you've established the effectiveness of your trades, right? So even 10 pips consistently, Zach's one of these kinds of guys. He would rather make 10 pips consistently than X amount of money or percent on other trades. I just want to make 10 pips per hour. If I can do that, that is amazing. And that's what he's consistently been doing for pretty much all this year. Just, and again, he's not new to trading. He's new to this style.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
and
it goes to the point that it doesn't have to take a long time for things to start being fruitful. It doesn't take years for your tomato plants to grow. And so you just have to do it the right way, which I won't go on that tangent, but we had to redo our garden this weekend.
well,
We had quite a few things that needed updating. But point here is that following a specific plan and treating it like it's your business plan is paramount. And being effective with it first and then finding the efficiencies and scaling later is also very paramount.
So it's also like important to note, like my goal is 10 pips a day, and there's a reason for that. Okay, so if my goal is 10 pips a day, and I specifically shrink it down to 10 pips per hour, I didn't make that up. That's something that James recommends as a good solid first goal. That's 50 pips a week is kind of my my goal. 50 pips in a week. Sometimes I get around 50 pips in a week. Other times, like last week, I ended up with 153 pips. So it's, although 10 pips an hour is like my goal, there are many times where during that same hour, I'm getting 60 pips, 40 pips, 80 pips, because that's just what the market wants to give me. So it's more like 10 pips is almost like I don't want to say minimum, because I have walked away with days where I got 5 pips and that's all the market wanted to give me. But it's kind of like a little guideline, a guide for me to work at, right?
Well, if you treat your trades as if they're customers, right? Your goal is to have your 10 customers, but if you see an extra 10 come into your shop, you don't ignore them, right?
Right.
And if only 5 customers come through, you don't throw them away just because you didn't get all 10 that you wanted that day, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. It's just you can seize opportunity where it makes sense, and there's a specific way to do that as well. Again, it's not just seeing, oh, there's an opportunity, therefore I'm going in. It's a lot more systematized on how you manage the trades that you're in, and if all the stars are aligning and it looks great, you can make that conscious decision. Do I lock in on my 10 pips that I've already made, or do I continue and scale in? And if I do, how do I do that? Right? These are all really important concepts for people to grasp when they're going through and creating their rules of their trading plan, so that when you do have a standard week and you make your roughly 50 pips, awesome, high five, kiss your wife, right? Or if there's more opportunities and there's some things that you decided to go into because it made sense to, then you can also have those weeks that are a little bit higher. Your goals are not your caps, right?
Exactly.
And, yeah.
I mean, even this week with not trading today, so far I'm at 45 pips for the week, 45.7. So tomorrow, do I even have to trade? Not really. So how does that affect the way I trade? It affects it pretty drastically, because now I'll get on tomorrow and I have a little group that trades with me on Fridays too. And so we'll get on, and if I don't have that perfect what I'm looking for based on my plan, I'm totally okay sitting out. Are you kidding me? I'm basically at 50 pips for the week anyways,
And to clarify here too, with what we're talking about here, James Leone is our Yoda, and he's the one that basically systematized and businessized his style of trading. And Zach is someone who has taken it seriously and is doing very, very well for it. Now, Zach also systematized and businessized binary options, right? Like that's not something that you've just thrown away. It's another tool in your tool belt. And that's kind of the concept of, like, let's say, like, I don't know, compare it to Amazon. We're talking about business, right? Well, Amazon sold books first, and then they also started selling something else. Now they have this huge repertoire of all these tools, and they're one of the biggest companies in the world. Like, and that doesn't have to be your goal to be the best trader and have all the tools, but I'm just trying to paint a picture that there's learning opportunities and growth consistently. Just like in business, you can continue to grow and add things to your business. But if McDonald's tries to change and not only have the best burgers, but also all these really great tacos, it's probably not as sustainable because they've already substantiated their business and have focused to make it one of the largest chains in the world, right? Like, and that's what we want you to do is whatever those goals are in your personal life, focus on those to see the fruit come from it. And then as you grow, you can scale just with what you know, or you can add to. Zach has decided to add to and is doing very, very well for himself. And when it comes to treating it like a business, do you mind if I kind of do some high points before we jump off of what that really looks like?
Yeah.
So if you were to start a business or to start trading, right? I'm going to only do the trading side because I don't think most people are listening to what you should look to in business, right?
Right.
But within trading, you should have a solid, and I'm going to give just really high level view on this, guys. You can keep tuning into our podcast. You can get access to our blueprint and stuff and get through all of this information. It's really, really great stuff. But the high points are your market research. You need to understand what it is that you could potentially be trading. There's lots of different styles. There's lots of different types of brokers out there. And so you need to have a really solid understanding of the basics of what you're looking into at the very least when you start your business or your trading, right? You need to have a trading plan, which is comprised of several different things, including but not limited to an overview of what your personal goals are, the strategy description of how you're choosing to trade, organization and management of your structure and how you will place your trades and manage them, right? Entry and exits. How do you actually do what we've been talking about of adjusting towards opportunities? And then, of course, it's also really important to have financial projections of what the compound interest looks like, what the withdrawals look like, how much can you withdraw and still meet your personal goals inside and outside of your accounts, right? And maybe this sounds complicated or convoluted. It's really not. You just have to have it all written out and understand why it's important, right? You need to have a structure based off of, how are you trading? Are you literally just taking claims of income from yourself, or do you have an entity that you can trade on behalf of, right? Now that's getting kind of into the weeds, so I'm going to skip to the next one. Finances, you need to have an understanding of how much it costs to get started. Things like, are you self-funded? Are you financing with other programs? Are you doing prop firm challenges? We don't necessarily endorse those, okay? So don't get it twisted. And then I've kept the names from business plan over here. And so there's one that's called human resources. You need to understand how to hire your staff and how to obtain your customers and how to keep your employees happy and taken care of and stuff, right? And so here for you as well, there's the training, the coaching, the community, the accountability structures that require some level of working with other people. Trading, I know a lot of people think it is not just a one pony show. Is that the expression? Like it's not just one person. It's not just you.
One trick pony.
One trick pony.
Yeah.
Yes, it's something inappropriate. I didn't mean to. And so human resources is like, who are you connecting with? Do you have somebody who can help you along the way? Especially someone like James, who's been doing this for 20 years, very, very successfully. And he enjoys to be able to connect and help people. Like I won't get too much into it, but my wife's friends that came in from Georgia, I had an opportunity to talk to the husband mostly about some of my beliefs around Christ and such. And he was very open to it. Before he left, he's like, hey, can I get your number? I don't want to bug you too much about it. I'm like, please do. Please call me. I would love to have those conversations. I really enjoyed that part of sharing the information, right? And James does as well when it comes to trading. He loves to talk to people about it and help them along the way, not bothering us to work with us.
Yeah.
There's also risk mitigation and launching and growth controls that you should understand. I want to keep this pretty brief because we'll unpack that over the next few weeks of all of these kind of high level views. What does it actually mean, and how do we personally treat our trading like a business, and how do we teach our members to do the same thing? And so, yeah, you can keep listening into this over the next 2, 3, 4 months. Or you can go ahead and get access to our blueprint that does a really good job of concisely giving you this info, painting a picture of what you need to do and how we put it all together inside of our group to help you along the way to do that. That way you can skip as many headaches as possible and get the right support that you'll probably need. So, Zach, how do we get people access to that?
Yeah, probably the best way is just go to our website, prosperitymovement.online. In the bottom right corner, there's a little chat bubble. Go ahead and type in the chat, trading as a business. You type that in there, our bot will start talking to you to schedule an appointment. And that way, that way you can book a time with our team. The moment you have a time booked, you will get access instantly to that blueprint. And then you can watch it ideally before your appointment. That way you have all your questions lined up for our team, and then they can answer. By the way, the people you talk to are traders. They trade too. So they will be able to answer your questions and help you along the way, as you chat with them. So yeah, just go to the website and put in this little chat bubble, trading as a business. And then hopefully our bot doesn't say something ridiculous to you.
Yeah, we're still working with the bot to to get it to be not only effective but efficient as well. So you'll talk to her, him,
Sure.
whatever at first, but of course we are a group of real people. That is,
Yeah.
we just want the appointment to be set efficiently, and the rest of the time you're talking to me, Zach,
Yeah,
people like Janelle, Israel, real people. So
for sure.
anyways, yeah, I think that was cool. I can't wait for the next few episodes for us to really dive deep into these concepts and to get really detailed.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Appreciate you. Happy 4th. And we'll see you guys next week.
Adios.
Adios.